afternoon, everybody, and welcome to a very special conference call today for another historic fight coming off the heels of Tyson Fury's knockout. Oh, sorry. Now I'm unmuted, everybody. So welcome, everybody, and thank you for joining us today. Coming off the heels of a historic heavyweight championship match in London between Tyson Fury and Dillian Whyte, Top Rank is back with another historic championship fight. This one is a junior lightweight title unification fight between Oscar Valdez and Shakur Stevenson. Shakur Stevenson is the WBO king. Shakur Stevenson is a WBO king. Oscar Valdez is a WBC world champion. It is going down Saturday night, April 30th, from the MGM Grand Garden Arena in Las Vegas, live, no pay-per-view, ESPN or ESPN Plus. Action begins at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific time. The main event, Stevenson to Valdez, Valdez-Stevenson, however you want to name it. And then in the co-feature, Olympic silver medalist Keyshawn Davis will fight Esteban Sanchez in an 8-round lightweight fight. And the telecast kicks off with Nico Ali Walsh in a 4-round middleweight bout against Alejandro Ibarra from Denver, who carries a 7-1 record into the ring. Tickets are going very fast, but there are some available left on AXS.com for this fight. And one thing that's a very special announcement that was just brought down by Ring Magazine. The vacant Ring Magazine junior lightweight title will be at stake for this fight. So the winner of this fight will be the one and only true king of the junior lightweight division. This is the first time since 2008 that the junior lightweight division will have a Ring Magazine champion crowned. So we're thankful to everybody at Ring Magazine for that designation. And it's going to be a historic fight between two great champions, both of whom are looking for a career-defining victory. So, as you can see, Shakur Stevenson is on the call. And before we get to Shakur and your questions for him, we're going to turn things over to the man who will be back at ringside this Saturday night after his successful bout with COVID-19. Top Rank Chairman Bob Arum. Bob, you've been around a lot of historic fights, a lot of big fights. But to have two guys that Top Rank has developed from pro debut until now, how exciting is this for you to see these two young men get in the ring on Saturday?
Two terrific fighters, Evan. Really good fighters. They've done everything we've asked them to do. They defeated all the fighters who went up against them. And now there's going to be the battle on Saturday to determine who between the two is the best. I can't wait for Saturday night. It's what boxing is all about.
Thank you, Bob. And now we're going to go over to Shakur. Shakur, you've asked for this fight for a while. You've demanded this fight for a long time, ever since both you and Oscar were in the featherweight division. Now that this is finally taking place at 130 pounds, and now that it's fight week, how excited are you to finally get in the ring with Oscar Valdez?
I'm ready. I'm in great shape. I'm feeling good. I'm just ready to fight. I feel like a lot of people don't understand how good I am, and I feel like April 30th is another chance to show them how great I am.
Thank you, Shakur. And a reminder to everybody, if you want to ask a question in the Zoom chat, please raise your hand. If you cannot figure out the raise hand button, you can send me a direct message in the chat, and we will get to as many questions as possible. We've got Shakur now, and then Keyshawn Davis, then Nico Ali, and then Oscar Valdez will be joining us a little later. So again, anybody wants to ask questions, raise hands or message me privately. Please do not live stream this call, but you can take clips from this call for your channels upon the conclusion from the Top Rank YouTube channel. So now let's go over to the questions, and Bob is on for the entire call as well, if anybody would like to ask questions of Bob Arum as well. So we will kick things off with Dan Raphael. Dan, please unmute yourself and go ahead.
Thanks a lot, Evan. Hey, Shakur, how are you today?
What's good, Dan?
Hey, everything is good. I know there was a lot of talk before this fight was finally signed, where you had said on a number of occasions that you felt like Oscar Valdez did not want to fight you. Now that he's signed on the dotted line, he's changed his mind. Obviously, he's willing to fight you. Or do you still think there's maybe some trepidation on his part of fighting you?
Yeah, I think it was more so his team. He's with Team Canelo now. I think they probably forced him into fighting me. I don't think he actually really wanted this fight. This is a fight that he tried to avoid for as long as he could, but as you see, he couldn't avoid it for that long.
Okay. And, you looked really good when you knocked out Herring and won this WBO belt that you're going to defend. How much better do you think that you can be against Valdez? Because that was such a dominating performance against Jamel. And however much better you think you can be, also, what does it mean then to you to be able to possibly unify the titles?
I'm a dominant fighter. I feel like all my fights is one-sided. So I'm planning on going in there April 30th and doing the same exact thing. So I don't know how much better I can get, but I know that I'm not even in my prime yet. So I can get a lot better than what I am already.
All right, Evan, I have one question for Bob. Bob is there?
Go ahead, Dan.
Hey, Bob. I've heard some people compare this matchup to a matchup that you promoted, and you had both fighters back then, between Floyd Mayweather and Diego Corrales, the consummate boxer in Floyd and the big aggressive puncher in Corrales. Same weight class, the same arena. Have you thought about that? Do you see there to be any comparisons to that fight that became a landmark benchmark fight for Floyd?
Well, that was a great fight I remember Mayweather Corrales. But again, to make comparisons with different eras is really beside the point. I just think this is going to be a great fight. And the thing I like about it is that each trainer for the fighter wanted this fight. Certainly Eddie Reynosa for Valdez, and Shakur's granddaddy and Coach K wanted the fight. So I'm looking forward to a great fight. To compare it to Mayweather and Corrales, I can see, what you're getting at, but I think it's too much of a reach.
All right, fair enough. Thank you, guys, and I look forward to seeing you later in the week.
Thank you, Dan. And in addition to this being for the Ring Magazine title, this is the first 130-pound unification match since 2005. So, especially in the 130-pound weight class, where we've seen a lot of great champions stop through, there's a lot of history on the line Saturday night as well. So again, we're going to go to the calls. Keith Eidick, please unmute yourself and go ahead when ready.
Hey, Shakur, I was just wondering if you could tell us how you win this fight the way that you're expecting to win it. How important would it then be to you to go and fully unify in the 130-pound division?
I can't hear you breaking up. You kind of broke up. I didn't hear what you said.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
I said, if you win this fight the way that you're expecting to win it on Saturday night, how important would it be for you then to go and fully unify and become the full champion in the 130-pound division?
I think it's very important. I feel like I'm gonna try to do the undisputed a little bit different. Try to go get every belt myself. So it's very important, but I got to get past Valdez first. I can't look ahead and think about what's happening next. I'm really focused on April 30th right now.
I fully respect that, Shakur. I'm just curious, though, do you anticipate it being difficult to make some of those fights because they're with other promoters and other networks and streaming services and all?
Nah, not at all. I think that I'm after this fight, I should become a big star, and I just feel like it should be a lot easier to get these fighters in the ring. I'm gonna be having 2 belts. I think a lot of people want to fight for 2 belts, so I can see other people getting in the ring. But like I said, right now we focus on Valdez, and I gotta get Valdez out the way, or we can't even have this conversation.
Understood. Shakur, I just have one more question for you. I know you've always wanted these fights. You've wanted this particular fight for 3 years or so. Do you think what Devin Haney did in terms of making some sacrifices to go make the fights that he wants will inspire other fighters of your generation? Not you. I'm not relaying this to you, but other fighters who have been reluctant to take those risks. Do you think that what he did might make other fighters more apt to do that moving forward?
I'm not sure. I don't know if other fighters would do that, but It's all business. I'm not sure on his situation. I don't know what happened, how it went down. So I don't know like the terms of the contract or anything like that. But I wish him nothing but luck.
Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Keith. And again, use the raise hand button. If you can't find the raise hand button, you can message me in the chat. And again, I will get to as many questions as possible. We don't have all day with all these fighters. So again, try to get to as many of you as possible when it comes to asking questions. So we got a lot of people on the line for Shakur. Mark Leyland-Walla, if I can find your unmute button. Okay, Mark, please unmute yourself and go ahead when ready.
Shakur, can this fight be the launching pad of Shakur Stevenson, the pay-per-view superstar?
Most definitely. I feel like this is a big fight. I'm taking a big risk fighting somebody 30-0, who's also a champion. And I feel like, depending on how I perform, I feel like the world gonna love me. And I definitely can become a pay-per-view superstar, and I will become a pay-per-view superstar.
Shakur, you get the Floyd comparison often. Do you feel like you have more power than a younger Floyd did at this point, in his career?
I don't know. I don't know how strong he was. That's depending on who looking at it, but I definitely got some power, and I'm definitely a great fighter who can get these guys out of there.
All right. Thank you very much, Mark. Cole Whiston, Boxing World Weekly. Cole, please unmute yourself and go ahead. Thank you, Cole.
Hey, thanks, guys. Shakur, you've said in the entire lead up to this fight that Oscar probably hasn't fought somebody with your skill set, and that is probably true. But the same argument could be made for you having not fought somebody with his power / ferocity. What do you say to that?
I probably agree. Definitely probably never been in there with somebody as strong as him and with that type of will. Only person I can think of with the willpower I would say was Joette, but he didn't get a chance to even show his willpower because of my skill. So I can say the same thing. I agree with that. That's a statement that I can agree with, but it don't matter come April 30th. If he could do whatever he wants, I'm coming there to do what I always do.
That's completely fair. You also tweeted almost immediately after the fight became official that you wanted the Taylor and Serrano card to kind of be staggered with yours so that they could both get the attention they deserve. I want to know, they're scheduled to walk right around an hour and 45 before you guys are. Are you going to be watching that fight while you're warming up?
Probably not. I like to kind of watch certain fights that I'm probably going to emulate. So I might even be watching Canelo Whitaker at that time, or maybe like an Andre Ward fight or something like that. So I probably won't be watching, but I wish them nothing but the best. I hope the whole world tunes in and help them get their support.
Thank you very much, Cole. We go to Miguel Maravilla. Miguel, please unmute yourself and go in.
Hey, Shakur. First of all, man, this fight is obviously, the biggest fight up to date for your career. You have the skill set. Everyone talks about his power. Do you feel that there will be an experience factor in this fight?
Who would the experience lead to?
In terms of professional experience, he was a champ when you were making your debut. It's pretty much what I'm referring to.
Nah, not at all. I feel like experience never could play a part with me. You got to realize I've been boxing since I was 5 years old. That's probably 19 years in the game already. So at the end of the day, I'm a great fighter, and I got enough experience to be in this situation that I'm in already. So I'm not looking at it like he's the more experienced guy. He's a great fighter at the end of the day. I can't take nothing from him, but I think that I'm the better fighter.
All right. Anything else, Miguel?
We're good. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Miguel. Next, we go to James Bell. James Bell, please unmute yourself and go ahead.
Hello there, Shakur.
James Bell, don't get in a crash on the captain's conference call, my friend, okay? No, all right. Be safe, James Bell. Go on.
Oh, no, I'm all good. Real quick, Shakur, this particular fight is a high-profile fight.
All right. Looks like James, we're gonna have to go to somebody else. Your reception's terrible. please pull over the car, and when you're in a place with better Wi-Fi, we will go ahead, James. So we'll get back to you in a moment. Mike Rueda, please unmute yourself and go ahead. Mike.
Thank you. Shakur, so a couple questions real quick. I know you said that you're not trying to compare this fight to anything Floyd or anybody else did, but is there any other fights that you've watched maybe in the lead up to this during your training that you, as you said, you're going to emulate possibly Pernell Whitaker type fight, but up to now, not obviously fight night?
Yeah, I don't want to give out the recipe, but I will say I don't think there's nothing he really could do about it. But I like watching the Sweet Pea versus Chavez fight. Chavez is his favorite fighter, and Pernell Whitaker is one of mine. So I love watching that fight.
Okay, and then last question. You recently became a father. Your daughter was born. How much more motivation and just how special has it been for you just in that sense personally since you became a dad? Involved in boxing now.
It's definitely big motivation. I actually was motivated my last fight just off the fact that I had a baby on the way. And when she came here, I wanted to be a 2-time world champion. So now that she's here, I want to unify the division. I want to keep trying to make her proud because when she get older, she going to realize how great her dad was. So I'm definitely motivated and I'm trying to put on a show for her.
Thank you very much, Mike. And we have a couple more questions with Shakur. But it's something I wanted to address with Bob. Quick question for Bob. So Bob, there's a couple questions ago, somebody referenced, that Oscar was a world champion when Shakur was turning pro. So it's kind of fascinating to now see them in a fight of this magnitude. When did you see this fight as a legitimate possibility? At what point? How long have you kind of seen this matchup percolating for?
Well, when we signed Oscar, we knew he would be a premier fighter in the sport. And when we signed Shakur, we knew that he would be a superstar in the sport. And it was always in the back of our mind that if the weights coincided, they would fight each other. I mean, they're two great young men, two great fighters. And it's what the public wants to see. And I am so happy that thanks to ESPN, we can do this fight without asking the public to pay additional money on pay-per-view. So this is wonderful for the sport.
All right, thank you, Bob. We got a couple more questions for Shakur, and then we have Keyshawn Davis is waiting patiently. So after a couple more questions, we will get to Keyshawn Davis. All right, let's see who else we have in the queue here. Rob Harding. Rob, please unmute yourself and go ahead.
Hi,
Rob.
Shakur.
Thank you, Rob.
You got me. Hi, Shakur. Great to speak to you and everyone on the call. I'm calling from London, England. The fight's being shown live in England, in the UK, in the early hours of Sunday morning. What can we expect from both fighters? Shakur, if he's still on the line, in particular, what can we expect in terms of stylistically and what's the master plan as well, sort of moving forward? Really, we're really excited with the prospect of actually watching you fight this weekend. So what can you tell your fans over here in the UK?
You can expect a regular Shakur Stevenson fight on me using my skills and my mind to get me ahead on the scorecards. But you got to understand that Oscar is a fighter with a lot of willpower, so I have to be prepared for him trying to drown me and get me into a brawl or if it's a big brawl. But I don't plan on doing none of that. I plan on going in there and doing what I've been doing in the gym, making everything easy work. And that's my game plan. So you can expect that.
All right. Thank you very much. And I've been informed that James Bell is parked. So James, now that you're parked, go ahead and ask your question before we let Shakur go.
All right. Just making sure that you got me here. Shakur, seeing that this is a fight between two of the top guys here in the super featherweight division, if you get through this particular fight, what does that mean for you there? And to kind of like say that you're one of the most skilled fighters in the sport of boxing?
Yeah, most definitely. If I get through this fight, I've been looking my last few fights, and every fight that I done had in my professional career, I see myself on the pound for pound list. When I say that off of just from me going back to back fighting champions with no problem. It's not like I'm fighting somebody who got a bunch of belts already. I'm fighting champion after champion, and then you got to understand Valdez has been champion since I was turning pro. Like Valdez has been defending his belt since I was having my pro debut. So just to fight somebody that's been defending belts and being undefeated, right after going against Jamel Herring, I think I deserve to be on the pound for pound list. Even if I'm not the top of the list pound for pound, I know for a fact that I deserve to be on the pound for pound list. I'm not just fighting cherry picking fighters. I'm actually fighting fighters. So.
All right, and we go one last question for Shakur, since he asked politely. Fred, let's see if you're on the line. Yep, Fred from the UK. Not old enough to buy a beer here in the US, but a good boxing reporter. So Fred, please go ahead and ask your question. Fred?
Shakur, how you doing, mate?
What's up, man?
Just one question. I saw you sparring Terence Crawford, obviously in the gym on your Twitter a few weeks ago. How much did you learn from sparring a fighter like Terence Crawford? How much did you gain from that?
I gain a lot. Just to know like I can hold my own with one of the best fighters on the planet is a blessing, and it definitely boosts my confidence to a higher level because I know that fighters like Oscar Valdez and people that's my weight, my size, they're not on the level of a Terence Crawford. So I definitely gain a lot of confidence from it, and I feel good about it.
Thank you very much. And Shakur, last word for you before you go. And anything you'd like to say to the fans that will be watching on ESPN, and just the final thoughts as you go back to training, Shakur.
Nah, just tune in April 30th. I'm ready to show the world what I've been trying to show them since the beginning of my career.
Short and sweet and to the point. Shakur, thank you so much for joining us today, and we will see you in Vegas. And Saturday night it goes down, ESPN Plus. So now we turn the attention to another young man who, like Shakur, was pegged for superstardom upon turning pro, and that is from Norfolk, Virginia, the latest and greatest from Norfolk, Virginia, Keyshawn Davis. Keyshawn, please unmute yourself and put your video on. So before we get to Keyshawn, I want to bring this to Bob Arum first. Bob, I know there was a lot of hoopla, a lot of hype when Top Rank signed Keyshawn Davis following the Tokyo Olympics, where he won a silver medal, and he made his Top Rank debut at Madison Square Garden on December 11th. There was a lot of hype, Bob, but once you got to see him in person, what were your thoughts on this young man from Norfolk, Virginia?
Well, obviously, we followed Keyshawn in the amateurs and were greatly impressed with his skills. We know that Keyshawn will be a superstar in the sport. It's the same feeling when we signed Keyshawn as we had when we signed Shakur. We're going to do everything in our powers to make him the face of boxing, one of the top faces of boxing in the sport. That's our job. And he's a terrific young man, and he's going to do his job by preparing well for fights and performing tremendously in the ring.
Thank you, Bob. And now we go to Keyshawn Davis. Keyshawn, you there?
Yes, sir.
He is. Look, he's ready, and I think that's the camp house in Colorado Springs. I take it, right, Keyshawn?
Terence Crawford's.
Yeah, I knew I recognized that kitchen. So Keyshawn Davis is on the line. Keyshawn, you turned pro Madison Square Garden on the co-feature of a Lomachenko fight. Now you're the co-feature to a Shakur Stevenson fight, and given the fact that you and Shakur are very close, have sparred together, good friends, how much of an honor is it for you to be on a Las Vegas fight night like this, right beneath your good friend Shakur Stevenson?
Well, first things first, it's an honor to, be with Top Rank and hearing Bob Arum, speak things about that. I like speak things, like that about me. And it's really an honor. Bob Arum is a legend. And, him believing in me that much to that magnitude, it just made me want to work harder and, prove him right. But going into this fight, fighting under my big brother undercard, me and Shakur been talking about this for years, man. Me and Shakur been talking about this before he even went to the Olympics, And now that we actually living it out, it's for both of us. It's like a dream come true. It's a dream come true, and I really just can't wait to experience it throughout the week, and put on a hell of a performance right before my brother do.
And a reminder, Keyshawn, I called Shakur's big brother. He does have a big brother, Kelvin Davis, who is an undefeated prospect, who was also signed with Top Rank, and a younger brother named Keon, who is one of our USA's top amateurs. So I'm surprised you did not shout out DB3 in your first answer, Keyshawn. You need to do better. So let's go to Keith Eidick. Keith, please unmute yourself and go ahead.
Hey, Keyshawn, I was just wondering if you could, kind of explain to us your ambition, because some of the fighters that I've been told you're looking to fight just a few fights into your career would be, pretty significant steps up for a fighter of your experience. Can you tell us about your ambition in general and what type of fast track you feel you might be on here?
Of course, we all know I'm on a fast track, but I don't really want to move too fast, honestly. I feel like as of now, like, yes, I have the skill and the ability, to be a lot of these fighters now, maybe some champions, but how I'm thinking right now as a business, honestly, I'd rather just, not rather, but I want to build myself first as a fighter. I want more people tuned into me, and I just want, just a bigger fan base for myself. Just so, like when I do get to that big world title fight, or that fight to get me to the world title fight, I'm already, a star, or at least close to it. And I just don't want to move too fast, because this is a long career. And, once you get to that peak level, is no turning backwards. So I just want to keep developing my skill, keep developing my craft, keep learning the business of boxing, and just, taking every single fight, so I can just learn from it and just keep getting better. But I don't want to move too fast.
Thank you, Keyshawn. Bob, can you speak to that as well? It's a slippery slope sometimes when you're trying to develop a guy, and you guys do it better than, pretty much everyone else in boxing.
I wish everybody had the philosophy that Keyshawn has, because he's right dead on. I mean, it's one thing to go right to the top and fight for titles, but you're not prepared for the rest of your career to defend titles. Keyshawn will move at a very intelligent pace. He will, when he fights for a title, he'll be prepared, and he'll be holding titles and winning titles for many, many years. That's the goal with Keyshawn Davis, and I am so delighted to hear him say such an intelligent plan, because that is the best plan to have if you're building yourself up into really big superstardom.
Thank you, Bob.
All right, thank you, Keith. And we're going to head to Joey Mills. Joey, please unmute yourself and go ahead.
Hi, Keyshawn. How you doing?
It's all right.
So I wanted to ask, first of all, obviously you were a highly decorated amateur who's made the transition over to the pro ranks. What have you found to be the biggest adjustment that you've needed to make sort of stylistically to turn from amateur to pro?
Not so much adjustments of my style, but I would say just me being more consistent of the good things that I do. Being alongside Bo Mack and Terrence Crawford in the experienced camp, they just showed me how much I gotta be consistent with my jab. They showed me how much I gotta be consistent with staying in my rhythm. They showed me how much being consistent of sticking really to the game plan. Because I was a fighter where things have worked so good for me that I just want to start beating guys up, and I kind of like stray away from the game plan, even though it still worked for me and I'm talented enough to do so, Bomac and the crew just keep reminding me of no, Keyshawn, because when you get to these 12-round, 10-rounders, sometimes 8-rounders, you know, the game plan, you always got to stick to your game plan and just be consistent on what's working. And they always say, don't ever let your talent carry over the game plan, you know? So they just really taught me just staying consistent and, you know, staying focused and locked in on what we got to do.
I think that's great advice. And I just wanted to ask you one more just quickly. Are there any fighters that you sort of take inspiration from or have tried to emulate, maybe like idols of yours that you're sort of carrying with you and trying to sort of follow in their footsteps?
Definitely. Well, firsthand, I would like to, you know, shout out Shakur. Shakur took my level to the next level since an amateur, going into the Olympics, coming pro. Like I always tell Shakur, like since my debut, Shakur just telling me how great and how much of, you know, a pro I already looked. But I was telling Shakur, I said, Shakur, I copied your whole blueprint and I put it into my own, you know what I'm saying? So I like to, you know, just shout out Shakur. Like a lot of things that I do now, I learned off of Shakur because I was always around him and he was the first person to do it. And if he did things right, I try to do things better. If he did things wrong, I try to make it right. And I just copied a lot of things that he did. But another person that Bob Arum brought to my attention after my top ranked debut, I shook Bob Arum's hand. He called me over and he said, man, you remind me of a young Sugar Ray Leonard. So honestly, ever since he said that, I started watching a lot of Sugar Ray, started watching how he speak, how he carry himself and how he fight. And now, you know, I'm not trying to, but, you know, I'm taking things from him now and, you know, just trying to get better as I move forward.
Thank you very much. Next, we go to Fernando Casal. Fernando, I hope I pronounced your name right. Go ahead. Fernando?
Hello. Hello, Keyshawn. Thank you for taking the time. When I look at you and I look at Shakur, I see a lot of similarities. Both are silver Olympic medalists. And like you said that you copy his blueprint. Now with this fight that Shakur is having, he's fighting someone that was a world champion when he made his pro debut. Is there any champions out there around your weight class that you look at them and you say, this is gonna be my breakthrough fight? Because we've seen that with Shakur, like for 4 years already, he has been calling Oscar Valdez, and it looked like he always had in his mind that the Oscar Valdez fight, it was the fight that was going to take him to the next level. So is there any champion that you look at him and you're like, maybe in the future, that's the fight that is gonna become me, that is going to help me become a pay-per-view star?
To answer that question, the only person I honestly see in the 135 division that is, I feel like it's going to be a pay-per-view massive fight, and I can say this now. I really feel like me and Gervonta Davis is going to be a massive fight in the future. Everybody else is like, I don't really know where they're going to fall at. I don't know where they're going to end up at, but I know Gervonta Davis is going to be at 135 for a long time, and it's a Davis, and he is a star already, and I know for a fact I'm gonna become a star as well as he is, and it's just gonna sell. The fight just gonna sell. Our last name is Davis. We both come from, we both come from that area, and I just feel like our fighting styles is just gonna make a great fight out of it. And honestly, I just can't wait till I get to that level to put on these great fights for these fans. But like I said before, I'm not rushing it. Bob Arum in Top Rank knows what they doing with me. I'm not really out here looking forward to calling anybody out. I'm not out here looking forward to fighting none of these current world champions right now, because when I get to that level, there's no telling who's going to be champion or not. As we've seen, Teofimo just lost to Cambosis, and who would have guessed that? You know what I'm saying? So I'm just staying in my lane. I'm doing what the businessman do, and I'm just staying focused on what I have to accomplish. I'm not really too much worried about the champions and who they are now, because I know who I am and I know who I'm going to become.
Thank you very much. That's an excellent question. Cynthia Conte, please unmute yourself and go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Keyshawn Davis, when we're listening to you, I'm going to piggyback what Bob Arum said, that you are one of the most incredibly humble fighters that we've come across in a very long time, especially coming into the pro debut. For people who don't know you or don't know your style, can you describe yourself in, give me 5 things that describe you?
5. I'm aggressive. No, first things first. I love putting on performances. I'm an aggressive fighter. I don't like getting hit. I want to knock you out, and I'm gonna have fun doing it.
I like that. I mean, and the way you say it, you own it. But that's all I really want. Like I said, I think you're such a humble fighter, and good luck to you. We cannot wait to see you in the ring. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cynthia. We got time for a couple more questions, and then Nico Ali Walsh will be joining us. So let's see who we have in the queue. Okay, let's go back to Cole Liston. Cole, please unmute yourself and go ahead.
All right, thanks, guys. Keyshawn, you've already fought on some pretty big stages in your career. 2 Canelo Alvarez cards. Evan already mentioned the Loma Comey card. Do you think that this is your biggest stage yet, though?
I just feel like it could. It potentially, yes, it could be, depending on how the fight's gonna turn out. Speaking of Shakur and Oscar Valdez, this can be a legendary fight. This can go down as a legendary fight, and it definitely can live up to a Canelo Alvarez fight. Or Jamel Herring had a great Dubai fight when he fought Carl Frampton. I also got a chance to fight on that undercard. But potentially, of course, I think this could be one of the, like I said, a legendary fight. It can go down in history. And I'm just happy to be just a co-main event up there, like little old Keyshawn, going to 8-rounder. Like I said, I just want to enjoy the moments, man. Put on a great performance right before my brother Shakur does.
That's awesome. And my last question is for Bob. Bob, we've reached fight week now. Oscar Valdez, Shakur Stevenson, and Katie Taylor Mastrano. Can you speak to how the promotion for both fights are going and how you think it will be sharing the stage with them on Saturday night?
I'm just, absolutely thrilled. I've been in this business for so many years, well before they were born or their fathers were born. And to see these young men with their great personalities and their great talent, and to have the opportunity to help them as they climb the ladder to superstardom is a great blessing for me. And I'm really grateful for the opportunity.
That's awesome. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Cole. And one last question for Keyshawn, because we have Nico Ali Walsh. He's on the line, so we'll get Keyshawn out on this. Fred from the UK. Fred, please unmute yourself and go ahead.
Hi, Keyshawn. How you doing, mate?
What's up, man?
I just want to get your thoughts on Cuban fighters being allowed to turn pro from Cuba. Now, I know you shared the ring a few times in the amateurs with Andy Cruz. What are your thoughts on Cuban fighters being able to turn pro in Cuba now?
It's great for them, man. Honestly, everybody wasn't really happy that the fact that they couldn't turn pro, because it waters down boxing. Because we all know Cubans got great fighters over there. And like I say, I'm really happy for them, man, that things is actually starting to open up for them, and they can start going pro and stuff like that. Now, will they go pro? I don't really know how good they will be going pro. I don't know. But like I say, it gives them more opportunity. And that's what every fighter wants, opportunity. And like I said, I'm happy for them, man. And hopefully years down the line, we'll see a lot more Cubans being pro.
Thank you very much, Fred and Keyshawn. We will let you out on this. So any final words you want to say to the fans, any DB3 shout outs you'd like to make, now is your time to do so.
Yes, sir. First things first, man. Of course, shout out DB3. If you ever see me holding up this, it's not in the gang sign. It is my brand, our brand, DB3, the Davis Brothers brand. We are 3 fighters, and we're all brothers, and we living out our dreams. So shout out DB3. Bob Arum, man, I appreciate you, man, showing me showing me love, just giving me more confidence and just hearing you speak about me. Appreciate you, Bob Arum. And April 30th, man, Keyshawn gonna put on a hell of a performance. We're gonna have fun April 30th, and my brother Shakur Stevenson gonna close the show, man.
Thank you so much, Keyshawn, for joining us today, and we will see you in Las Vegas soon. For the next conference call, I don't think we even need to have anybody ask Keyshawn questions. Just say, Keyshawn, go ahead, and he will be able to filibuster for 30 minutes. Great. So Keyshawn co-feature Saturday night, ESPN Plus, MGM Grand Las Vegas. We'll see you then, and big things ahead for Keyshawn. Thank you, Keyshawn.
Thank y'all.
Now joining us on the call, he will be leading off the ESPN telecast, a 4-round fight against Alejandro Ibarra from Denver, Colorado, who's 7-1 with 2 knockouts. He's the grandson of somebody you've heard of. I don't know if we've ever mentioned this before in press releases and stuff. Grandson of Muhammad Ali, 4-0, 3 knockouts. It's Nico Ali Walsh joining us. He'll be opening the show, as I mentioned. Nico, thank you for joining us.
Thank you guys for having me.
And Nico, it's a new hairstyle this week. It's new for his Las Vegas debut, new hairstyle. Things are changing. So Nico, you've had a lot of memorable firsts, obviously, since turning pro last August. But now, you came off the heavily hyped Madison Square Garden debut, which obviously holds a lot of significance to your family. But now you are fighting in your hometown in Las Vegas. How special will the homecoming or the hometown debut of Nico Ali Walsh be on Saturday night?
Honestly, I've told everyone MSG is the fight venue of the world, but Vegas is the fight venue in my heart. It's the biggest fight venue because obviously this is my home. This is where I live. So this fight is so important to me because I feel like it's my first step to kind of creating my own path, creating my own legacy, So I'm stoked to be a part of this fight. As Keyshawn said, it's probably going to be one of the fights of the year. So it's just super, super honored to be just a part of it in any way.
And Bob, obviously you mentioned a lot of how exciting, how thrilling it was for you 50 years later to be promoting Muhammad's grandson. Can you speak about, how happy you are with his development in these first 4 fights since he turned pro last August?
Yeah, Nico is coming on. The genes are there. The ability is there. The determination is there. And every time he's on one of our cards, like the one on Saturday, at the MGM, I can't help but realize that so many years ago, when I promoted his grandfather in the first fight that I promoted, that without the support of his grandfather and our relationship, I wouldn't be here today as a boxing promoter. So for me, every time Nico gets in the ring, it is something that really takes me back to the start of Bob Arum as a boxing promoter when I first started promoting Muhammad Ali.
Very well said. And we'll kick off the questions with Willie Ramirez from the Associated
Wait,
Press.
can I say something real quick?
Yes, you can, Nico.
It's funny that Bob mentions that he wouldn't be in boxing without my grandfather, because truly I would not be in boxing if not for Bob Arum, because I would not. I'm all about legacy. I'm all about continuing, my family lineage, and I just wouldn't be boxing without him. So thank you, Bob.
Thank you, Nico. And we will start with Willie Ramirez, Associated Press, out here in Las Vegas. Willie, please unmute yourself and go ahead.
Thank you, Evan. Hello, Nico. Thanks for joining us. So in my decades of covering professional athletes, we always hear comparisons in different sports, whether in the NBA, the comparison to Michael Jordan. In football, now quarterbacks, it's Tom Brady. And I don't know if anybody's really comparing you to your grandfather, but in terms of carrying that torch, that pedigree, can that be somewhat of a distraction, or are you embracing that in not only carrying on that family legacy at such a young age, in such a young time in your career, but also, as you mentioned, knowing the history of boxing in this town and maybe reviving a sport that your grandfather, sort of thrust into the spotlight during his career? How do you handle that at such a young career to sort of embrace all that?
Well, honestly, first off, I don't have the sense of, my grandfather's this icon, my grandfather's the greatest of all time. I have just the sense in my head naturally that it's just my grandfather. So I'm lucky for that, because if I wasn't born like this, and if I wasn't raised, with my grandfather and my family, it would be a little much to handle. But I don't feel that pressure of him being the icon that he was, because to me, he's just my grandfather. And I get what you mean with the comparisons. People like, in any sport and in any aspect of life, when someone's doing successful, they like to be compared to the best at what they're doing. And that's kind of what happens in boxing. Everyone gets compared to my grandfather when they're doing something right, because he's, the guy to compare to.
So if you look at him as just your grandfather, obviously maybe you watched film, but is there someone that you, aside from him, that you watch that sort of emulate or tailor your game after, your technique, someone that you emulate a little bit?
Oh, absolutely. My favorite fighter, aside from my grandfather right now, is Canelo. I think he's, I truly believe that he's one of the all-time greats. Like, people have a hard time accepting the fact that there's all-time greats fighting right now, like Tyson Fury. He's an all-time great. People don't like calling others all-time greats until they've passed away. It's unfortunate, but that's kind of what happened with, like Kobe Bryant. He was an all-time great. I knew that when he was alive and playing, but then once he passed away, then people realized that, yeah, he was an all-time great.
All right, great. Thanks, Nico. We'll see you out there Saturday. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Willie. And let's see who else we have in the queue. Cynthia Conte, please go ahead again when ready. Unmute yourself, please. Thanks, Cynthia. Cynthia, you there? Press going once, Cynthia, going twice. All right, Cynthia. Okay, we'll go to somebody else right now. Fred from the UK. Fred, please unmute yourself.
Hi, Nico. How you doing, mate?
Good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm all good. I was just wondering, obviously there's a lot of added pressure on you, considering your grandpa's name. Do you feel that this is your fifth fight? Obviously, you had 4 fights so far in your professional career. Do you feel that pressure is kind of slowly easing off you, or is it all still there?
Honestly, the pressure of him being my grandfather, I never felt. But before the first fight, I felt the pressure that any boxer would feel having their first fight. So the pressure before the first fight was incredible. But since then, it has not been the same. And I knew it would be that way.
So you've learned to kind of harness it then?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, the first fight, I didn't know exactly. It was my first time stepping out in the ring under those lights, in front of a crowd on ESPN. Now I've done it 4 times. I've harnessed it now, I think.
Awesome. I wish you best of luck for Saturday. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Fred. And I got a few more questions for Nico. Let's see what else we have here. Cole, please unmute yourself and go ahead.
Hi, Nico from Boxing World Weekly. Thank you for taking the time for us today. You mentioned that you emulate Canelo. I want to know specifically what you see in Canelo's game plan that you believe you are able to take from it.
Well, the biggest thing that I love about fighters right off the bat is their discipline. And I've noticed that with Canelo, he's just got that discipline. Like, you always see him in the gym. You always see him just focused. So that's the main thing that I'd love to emulate from him. Aside from that, his aggressiveness in the ring and his ring IQ mainly is it's unlike other boxers today. That's what makes him so special. That's why a lot of people consider him the pound for pound king.
I completely agree. This is your first fight in Las Vegas. We've already talked about it. I want to know where it ranks amongst the other 4 that you fought so far.
Well, MSG, for historical reasons, is, I mean, historically speaking, that's the greatest venue ever. But for me personally, this will be my favorite fight, just because Las Vegas, again, it's my homecoming. It's just super special to me. So this one's number 1 as of right now.
All right, thank you very much. We got a couple more questions with Nico. Oscar will be joining us very shortly. So Oscar Valdez will be joining us in about 2 minutes. A couple more questions for Nico. Let's see who we have on the queue. Joey Mills, please unmute yourself again and go ahead.
Hi, Nico. Great to speak with you.
You too.
I just wanted to ask, so this will be your second fight under the tutelage of Richard Sloan. I just wanted to ask, what has he added to your game so far?
Well, Richard's got an amazing history. You know, if for those who don't know, he worked with, you know, Joe Frazier in the past and so many others, Emmanuel Stewart and Lennox Lewis. So he's got that olden day style. And I want to say that's kind of what he brings to me. I love that old fashioned style. And I feel like that's what he's relighting that flame in myself.
And the other, I just wanted to ask one more quick one. Obviously, I'm from the UK. We loved your grandfather over here. He fought over here many times, and we've got a great boxing scene at the moment. You mentioned Tyson Fury before. Could we see Nico Ali Walsh over in the UK at some point?
Absolutely. I have a mental goal, and the UK is number 1 above all other places in the world because my grandfather loved the UK. They loved him. And yeah, you have to see me fight in the UK.
Amazing. Thanks, Nico.
Thank you.
And since he just mentioned that, Bob, obviously 94,000 over in the UK, and Nico's mentioned wanting to fight in the UK. Is that something you can see happening in the near future? Nico Ali Walsh going back to a country that embraced his grandfather.
If it didn't, it would be terrible.
Yes.
Obviously, Ali meant so much to boxing in the UK. I was privileged to be part of so many of his fights in the UK. And I can't wait to bring him over there to fight before the greatest fans in the world. And that's true. And without any, I mean, they're great fans here in the United States, but there's nothing like boxing fans like we have in the United Kingdom. And that was demonstrated on Saturday when 95,000 came out to watch that fight at Wembley Stadium.
Thank you. We got a couple more for Nico. James Bell, please go ahead.
James? All right, there, real quick. You did talk about your time there with your trainer. Kind of like going to what is the biggest thing that you're trying to work on is your development as a fighter right now?
Well, honestly, since the first fight, the biggest thing we were looking on was output and defense. But I'm trying to build that ring IQ. I'm getting that experience that I had missed due to the lack of my amateur background. So I'm just looking to get that in the ring with the sparring that I've got and with the training that I'm getting. I'm just looking to build my experience and increase my ring IQ above anything else.
All right. Thank you very much. Fernando Casal. Fernando, please go ahead.
Hello, Nico. Thank you for taking the time. Nico, I see that you embrace a lot of your heritage and you are very proud of being Muhammad Ali's grandson. However, how important is for you to also separate that as your career is growing so people look at you more as Nico Ali Walsh and not just Ali's grandson? Is it something that is important to you or you don't even think about that?
It's very important to me. My whole life outside of boxing, when I was a little kid, I was always Muhammad Ali's grandson and then Nico. So I'm obviously trying to separate myself, but doing it in a way where obviously I'm proud of my grandfather. I love my grandfather and I'm proud of, where I come from. So I want to do it in a way that's still respectful, where I'm continuing his legacy while creating my own. And I feel like I've kind of got that platform now where, you know, I'm referred to now as Nico Ali Walsh, then Muhammad Ali's grandson. So I'm slowly creating that my own path that way.
Do you also feel that you have received unjustified criticism? Because considering that you only have 4 fights, you were starting your professional boxing career, and you have a lot of attention due that you are Muhammad Ali's grandson, but also a lot of criticism that maybe other fighter with the same amount of experience that you have wouldn't receive because you're so evolving as a fighter.
Honestly, I always compare criticism to my grandfather. And so I don't believe I receive maybe not even enough criticism, because I'll never get to the point where I've received as much criticism as my grandfather did. So this is nothing. Everybody receives criticism.
All right. Thank you, Fernando. And Oscar Valdez is on the line. So Nico, before you go, final thoughts for all the fans for your Las Vegas debut, which is only 5 days away.
I'm super stoked for the fight. I'm excited to watch the main event. Please, you know, tune in any way you can. And thank you, Bob Arum, for everything. And I'm looking forward to Saturday.
Thank you very much, Nico. And now joining us on the line is the two-weight world champion, the former featherweight world champion, and the reigning defending WBC 130-pound champion. That is Oscar Valdez, who is now joining us. Oscar, where are you here? Hold on one second. Well, Oscar's unmuted, so while we wait for Oscar to get his audio, let's go to Bob Arum. Bob, you know, you've had Oscar is one of if not the longest tenured or longest signed fighters with Top Rank. He's approaching a decade under the Top Rank banner since turning pro following the 2012 Olympics. How special has this journey been for you? Watching Oscar develop from that young man who turned pro in 2012 to now being a two-weight world champion and headlining a big show at the MGM Grand.
When I first met Oscar and we first signed him, I sort of just instinctively knew, based on my experience, that he would be something special. The way he carried himself, his determination, and he is even exceeding the hopes and dreams that we had with him. And once he aligned himself with Eddie Reynoso, the esteemed trainer, I knew that he would looking at a fighter who was really super special. And Oscar as a person and as a fighter has justified all of the hopes that we had for him.
And thank you, Bob. And now we are joined by Oscar Valdez. A couple housekeeping notes. You can't record, but upon conclusion of the call, as I mentioned, go to the Top Rank YouTube channel. You can take clips from there to use for your channel. So we're happy to provide those for you. And now we're joined by the WBC 130-pound world champion, Oscar Valdez. And Oscar, thank you for joining us. Now 5 days away, fight week for a career-defining fight, 2 fights removed from Miguel Berchelt. How excited are you to be part of a massive Las Vegas main event?
Excited for this new opportunity. I want to thank everybody. I want to thank my team. I want to make this fight possible because this is a fight that people have been wanting for a long time. You know, Shakur Stevenson has been mentioning my name for quite some time already, since I was a featherweight. And it got to under my skin after hearing so many times that we were scared of him, that we were ducking him. That was never the case. You know, we were just always looking for bigger and better fights. Now, where Shakur's a two-division world champion, he's the current WBO world champion. I'm the WBC world champion. It makes perfect sense to define who's the best fighter at 130 pounds. So I'm very excited for this. I've been taking this fight very seriously. Training camp has been going so well. Training with Eddie Reynoso, we've done a tremendous camp, and I'm very excited. I'm very excited to step in the ring and show my skills. You know, a fighter that likes to go in there and brawl. A lot of people forget Olympian that I could also box. And the fighter, going up against a fighter like Shakur Stevenson, who we know that isn't going to risk it, isn't going to try to bang in there, trying to stay toe to toe. He's going to try to use his boxing skills. So that's something that we're going to have to do as well. You know, we're going to be the smarter fighter. Instead of being a war, it's going to be more of a chess game, and we're going to be ready for wherever. So I'm truly, truly excited for this new opportunity in my life. It's the first time that I'll be championship. So I'm excited to fight very seriously. I'm physically and mentally prepared for this opposition, and I'm going to do whatever it takes to go back home victorious.
Thank you. And as a quick reminder, if we have any Hispanic media, which I know we do on the call, you can ask Oscar a question in Spanish, but please wait for Gardy to translate. He will translate the questions and then the answers that Oscar gives in Spanish. So feel free to do so, but just give Gardy the time to translate both the questions and the answers. All right. We will start the questions with Jake Donovan from Boxing Scene, who just tagged in for Keith Eidig. Jake, please go ahead when ready.
Thank you very much, Evan. Oscar, so last year you had what I consider to be the absolute best win of your career. It came a week before Canelo fought in Miami, I believe. Now here you are in probably the biggest fight of your career, a week ahead of Canelo fighting. Is there a different kind of energy when you and Canelo are in the gym at the same time training for a fight as opposed to Canelo just being around?
Energy inside the gym, because in the gym we got great talent. I mean, obviously Canelo Alvarez, but we got other talents in there that we all sometimes stop the sparring sessions. He'll step in the ring and try to tell me and teach me certain things because he has more experience than us. He has fought the best in his prime, and obviously he has more experience. And there's a couple of things that he knows that could benefit me in the fight. So it's definitely helped me a lot training beside Canelo and besides the hand of Eddie Reynoso. And we just all feed of each other. The dream is to become one of the best in history, and we just all feed off each other.
Very cool. And then, so last year, obviously, when you fought Miguel Maravilla, it was a sensational performance. The only fans there, though, were the undercard fighters who were kind of, cheering both of you on. So what kind of energy are you feeling? Are you expecting this weekend?
The time I fought with Miguel Maravilla, I'm feeling very excited because it's a tough fight. Every time there's a higher competition, I rise with the competition. So we know Shakur Stevenson is a good fighter. We know he's a good boxer. So it's gonna make us bring the best out of myself. So I'm very focused. I know the Miguel Maravilla fight was one of my best, and then after that year, it wasn't my best performance at the end of my career. But that's just transforming into the fighter that I am right now. I'm going in there very focused, very, very concentrated, physically and mentally prepared for this new opposition.
All right, thank you, Jake. And now we go to Dan Raphael. Dan, please go ahead when ready. Yep, you're on, Dan.
Hey there. Yep, thanks a lot, Evan. Hey, Oscar. Oscar, can you hear me all right, buddy? Is Oscar there, Evan?
Hey, Oscar, are you there?
You guys can hear me?
Oh, there we
go. Your wireless headphones are cutting out a little bit while you're speaking, so maybe shut. Yeah, so shut the wireless headphones off and then just go to the.
Okay, I just took them off. I don't know if you guys can hear me.
Much better, Oscar. Dan, go ahead, sir.
Okay, thank you, Oscar. Good to talk to you today. Appreciate the time. I wondered from you. You are the betting underdog in the fight. I know that probably doesn't mean much to you. I've never heard a boxer that really thought it did mean much to them. But I wonder if you feel like that's the reason for that is because you had the performance you had against Conceição in the last fight. Was an uneven performance. Some people thought that maybe Robson Conceição should have won the fight. There was obviously you were distracted with all the business that was going on with the drug test beforehand. Do you feel like that people are wrongly underestimating you because that was maybe not your best performance as opposed to the previous fight when you took apart Burchelt?
100%. I think people judge over your last fight, and I've heard this before in boxing. You're only as good as your last fight to the eyes of the fans. So we know that my last performance wasn't my best performance. On the contrary, I would say it was one of my worst performances that I've done through all that was going down in that situation. And on the case of Shakur Stevenson, his last performance was his best performance against Jermaine Herring. Was a good fight. He looked very well. So I think that's what influences the bets. But that doesn't bother me at all. On the contrary, it just brings and adds more motivation to training camp. And being honest, it was one of the best training camps that I had, because I've always prepare myself physically for all the fights. I'm always giving the 100%. But for this fight, I was physically and mentally preparing myself for this fight. So I'm very focused, and I'm very excited to step in the ring this April 30th.
How do you deal with, or maybe you don't even think about it? On the one hand, you beat Burchell. People called it the knockout of the year. You won the title at 130. It was lauded as just this phenomenal performance. You just totally took apart a guy that was extremely highly regarded, and you're on top of the world in terms of the eyes of many media and fans, etc. And then your next fight, it's almost, you won, but it's like the opposite against Kotsko. People are saying, Oscar Valdez is nothing. He should have lost. He's this, he's that, the drug situation. And then, so it's the emotional roller coaster of the highs and the lows. How do you navigate that? And now here you'll go into this fight.
Well, I personally think that 2021 was a great learning experience for me, because it started off high, and then it eventually turned out to one of my lowest I've ever been in my career, to all that being accused of the supplements that we call the cheater, and then the bad performance that I did against Conceição. It was up very high in early 2021, and at the end, I felt like I was at the bottom, with all this criticism. But that only made me learn a lot of things. It made me realize that who really is beside me, and really made me realize that what the real importance of my career is. I shouldn't listen to other people and other analysis, just to be focused on the main thing, which is just win the fight and do my best. And that's what's made me the fighter that I am right now. Right now, I'm very focused. There's nothing out there that can bother me right now, because I'm 100% focused for this fight. It's a fight of my career. It's a fight of my life. And I'm taking it very seriously. So 2021, I would say, was a great learning experience for me.
Thank you very much, Dan. Now we go to Hector Islas. Hector, please unmute yourself. Hector.
Hola, Oscar. Hola, Iván. Oscar, una pregunta. Esta pelea que tú tienes con Shakur Stevenson quizá sea la más difícil de tu carrera, porque es un boxeador 6 años más joven que tú. ¿Cómo miras tú la pelea y cómo ganarle a este boxeador invicto que también va a querer llevarse tu campeonato mundial?
This will probably be one of the toughest fights of your career, given that Shakur is 6 years younger than you, and also he wants to take away your titles. How do you see the fight going?
Sí, fíjate que yo estoy consciente que es de las peleas más difíciles de mi carrera hasta ahorita. Entiendo que Shakur Stevenson es un peleador complicado, es un peleador zurdo, alto, y que se mueve muy bien por el cuadrilátero, usa muy bien sus piernas. Entonces, es un peleador complicado donde no le gusta arriesgar, que eso hace las peleas complicadas, pero no imposible. Por eso hemos trabajado muy duro al lado de Eddie Reynoso en el gimnasio aquí con Canelo. La verdad que hemos hecho un gran trabajo y vengo bien preparado para ganarle. Para todas las peleas me entreno físicamente el 100%, pero para este campamento me preparé físicamente y mentalmente al 100% para ganarle a Shakur Stevenson.
¿Cuánto tiempo te tomó?
I'm aware this is a very complicated fight. Shakur is a tall, southpaw fighter that doesn't like to engage. He's a more defensive fighter, but it's not impossible to hit him. So I have prepared very well for that, and I have a good game plan with Eddie Reynoso.
Thank you very much, Hector. A lot of questions on the line, so I'm trying to keep it to about one question per person going forward. So thank everybody for understanding, because as I mentioned, a lot of questions here in the chat queue. Ismail Abdul Salam. Ismail, please unmute yourself and go ahead.
Thank you.
There, Ismail?
I'm here.
Thank you.
Oscar, you've mentioned, we know how well you performed when you were the underdog against Burchell. You mentioned you learned a lot over the last year. Have you learned that maybe you perform better and that your training is better when you have that underdog mentality, when people are underestimating you?
Yes, 100%. 100%. That's something that definitely helps me. Being the underdog is just a motivation. I live in my own world. I live my own movie. And sometimes being the underdog just brings more motivation to me in camp. Having the odds be against you is just something that brings out the best out of me, especially going against the competition. We know Shakur Stevenson is a great fighter, southpaw, tall, and very defensive. And I definitely think Shakur is going to make me bring the best out of me, because I always ride with the competition. So definitely, I learned a lot over the course of the years, and I think that's what's going to help me win this fight.
Thank you very much, Ismail. A bunch of questions in the queue, as I said. Renato Bermudez. Renato, please unmute yourself and go ahead.
Oscar, ¿cómo estás? Creo que te le hacían la pregunta en inglés y ahora en español. Pues, ¿tú crees que tiene las habilidades para boxear a Shakur Stevenson, de irte a la distancia y ganarle por puntos, o sientes que quizás hay que noquearlo?
Do you feel like you have the skills to outbox Shakur Stevenson, or do you feel the need to have to knock him out?
Sí, fíjate, creo que hemos trabajado muy duro para esta pelea y creo que tenemos todas las facultades para ganarle de ambas maneras. Yo tengo una buena trayectoria amateur, 2 veces Juegos Olímpicos, que me ha ayudado a enfrentarme a varios zurdos y varios peleadores altos, como en este caso Shakur Stevenson. He tenido buenos sparrings que me han ayudado, entonces estamos preparados para todo, estamos preparados para ir a 2 asaltos, ganándole de una manera de presión o ganándole boxeando, o estamos disponibles para, si se presenta la oportunidad, si lastimamos al rival, pues tratar de acabarlo lo más pronto posible, pero realmente nos preparamos para todos los obstáculos que llegue a traer este Shakur Stevenson.
Gardy? Sorry, Gardy. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm ready for whatever presents itself during the fight. I'm ready to go 12 rounds. I'm ready to pressure him and I'll box him, but I'm also ready to knock him out if the opportunity presents itself.
Okay. Any more questions? Nope. Okay, so let's go to the next reporter on the line here, see who we have. Sarah Del Valle, please unmute yourself and go ahead. Sarah, thank you.
Sí, buenas tardes. ¿Me escuchan?
Sí.
Okay, I'm going to ask my question in Spanish to Mr. Valdez. Saludos, Valdez. Shakur Stevenson ha comenzado a explorar su lado puertorriqueño y ha señalado que esta pelea es podría verse como un capítulo más entre esa rivalidad histórica entre Puerto Rico y México. ¿Qué le parecen a ustedes esas expresiones de Shakur?
Shakur has, my bad, Oscar. Shakur has mentioned that he's exploring his Puerto Rican roots, and that for this fight is going to be something similar to Mexico against Puerto Rico fight. What do you think about that?
Y fíjate que yo a Shakur Stevenson, sinceramente, lo veo como un peleador norteamericano, un peleador que representó su país en Juegos Olímpicos como Estados Unidos, así que no lo visualizo como un boricua, un puertorriqueño, y creo que tienen diferentes estilos, y normalmente cuando se enfrenta un boxeador boricua, un peleador puertorriqueño, es de más choque, de más guerra, una pelea donde el público le gusta ver. A la gente le gustaba ver a Tito Trinidad porque el Tito Trinidad se sentaba en el cuadrilátero y le gustaba pelear. A la gente le gustaba ver a Miguel Cotto porque se paraba en el cuadrilátero y daba buenas peleas. Y todos estos peleadores que vienen, que son boricuas, se identifican de esa manera peleando, ¿no? Una pelea que donde dan un buen espectáculo al público. En el caso de Shakur Stevenson tiene un estilo más norteamericano, más boxeador, donde le gusta desplazarse. Y realmente así lo visualizo, pero la verdad es que espero lo mejor de Shakur Stevenson porque yo vengo bien preparado y simplemente vengo a dejar todo arriba del ring.
I don't consider Shakur to be a Puerto Rican fighter. I consider him to be a North American fighter. He represented the USA in the Olympics. And, you know, Puerto Rican fighters like Tito Trinidad, like Miguel Cotto, they are fighters that come to fight. Like they want to give a good fight to the fans. Shakur doesn't have like that kind of style. He's more a defensive kind of style. But surely I expect the best Shakur. I have trained very well and I'm ready for a great fight.
Thank you very much. And next we go to Erica Montoya. Erica, please unmute yourself and go ahead.
Hi guys, good evening to everyone. My question is for Oscar Valdez. Oscar, muchas gracias. Cuando hablábamos nosotros, mencionabas que esta pelea ante Shakur Stevenson era la oportunidad de redención de tu carrera. ¿Todavía lo consideras así? ¿Y qué vas a hacer en caso de que Shakur Stevenson salga a boxear y no permita una pelea fluida, que se vea como un poco parada o cortada?
When we spoke about this fight happening, you mentioned that this could be your redemption fight, and also what are you going to do if Shakur comes out like more in a more boxing style and not so much a fight toe to toe?
Sí, ¿qué onda, Kika? Fíjate que sí, sigo con esa mentalidad. Creo que lo he dicho en varias ocasiones, que la última pelea no fue de mis mejores espectáculos, sino al contrario, de los peores. Y la verdad que siento que es mi oportunidad para tratar de tomar todo lo que he logrado durante toda mi carrera, porque la verdad que le he dedicado muchos años de esfuerzo, de sacrificio y ganas a llegar a tener el nombre que tengo yo ahorita. Y yo sé que si le gano a Shakur Stevenson, pues me pondría un poquito más cercano a la lista que yo quiero estar en la lista mejor libra por libra y posiblemente en un futuro llegar a estar en la lista de los mejores boxeadores mexicanos de la historia. Entonces, eso es lo primero que yo tengo en mente. Y lo otro es, si sale a boxear, si sale a hacer la pelea complicada, pues nosotros tenemos que hallar la manera. Tenemos plan A y plan B para pelear contra Shakur Stevenson. Si él quiere hacer la pelea complicada, vamos a tener que romper esa barrera, cortarle las esquinas, trabajar las zonas blandas posiblemente y poco a poco irlo deteriorando para que caiga para los últimos rounds.
Like I mentioned before, my last fight was not my best performance, so I see this fight like the redemption fight, where I can show everything that I have, all the sacrifice, all the years that I have put in the sport of boxing, and it will put me closer to the list where I want to be. I want to be in the top 10 pound for pound list, and also in the future I want to be remembered as one of the best fighters in Mexican boxing history. As for the fight, we have to be prepared for whatever he brings. So we have a plan A and plan B. If he wants to box, we will pressure him and go to the body and cut the ring, whatever we have to do to break that barrier. But we're prepared for whatever he brings.
All right, thank you very much. Got a few more questions for Oscar, and then we'll let him go. Let's see who else. Fred from the UK. Fred, please unmute yourself.
Hi, Oscar. How's it going, mate?
How's it going, Fred?
Obviously, you got one of the best tables in boxing, including Canelo Alvarez and Ruiz and a few others. How much does having a good stable motivate you and have you stay disciplined in the gym?
It helps me a lot. Working besides someone like Canelo Alvarez, it's just amazing. It's just amazing because we all share the same dream, and I want to accomplish everything that he's already accomplished. I want to be one day unified, undisputed. I want to maybe go up in divisions, and that's something that I've always dreamed since I was a little kid. And you got this fighter in front of me, which is Canelo Alvarez, who's already done that. So it's obvious that he already knows the path. He already knows the ways. He's fought the best. So he has way more experience than all of us. So there's obviously a couple of things or two, one thing or two that he knows that we don't know, that we can use in the fight. So there's a lot of techniques that he steps in the ring with me. We don't necessarily spar, but he steps in the ring with me and he tries to teach me certain things that are going to help me the day of a fight. They're going to help me in tough situations that will help me get out of a tough situation or just help me just come out victorious. So it's definitely been a great learning experience working beside him. If there's something I would pick from him, would be this mindset, the type of mindset that he has is just a winner's mentality. Everything he does is about winning and everything. And then that's just something that I try to pick. I try to learn from the best. There's something you could always learn something from somebody, and I always try to learn from the best. So it's definitely helped me a lot working beside him, and especially working with Eddie Reynoso, that I feel that over the years I've been improving my technical skills.
All right, we only have a few more minutes with Oscar, so I apologize to everybody. We couldn't get to all the questions, but get to as many as we possibly can. Let's see who else we have. Mike Rueda. Mike, please unmute yourself and go ahead.
Thank you. And Oscar, you mentioned you're not sure how this fight's going to turn out. Has there been maybe more work on your conditioning in the case that Shakur might be doing a lot more sticking and moving in this fight, as opposed to, as you said, trying to go toe to toe with you?
Yeah, I mean, we've been working very hard. Back home, my mother, my grandmother, and my friends tell me, "Hey, you got to work harder for this fight." And I always think to myself, well, that's physically impossible because for every fight, I work very hard. Every time I go step in the gym, I leave exhausted because I work very hard for every fight. It doesn't matter what fight it is. So I'll think to myself, I can't work physically harder, but what I can work on is mentally. So I've been training physically and mentally for this fight because we're ready for whatever. You know, Shakur Stevenson is not the type of fighter that's going to want to risk a lot in the ring. He's not going to stay toe to toe. So he's going to be moving a lot. So I have to be physically prepared to go all 12 rounds. But more importantly, I got to be mentally prepared because he's the type of fighter that likes to get in the boxers' heads, and I can't let that happen. So I got to be physically and mentally prepared for all 12 rounds. And if the knockout comes, let it come. But I'll be prepared for all 12 rounds to do and give it my best.
And I think the perfect way to end this call, I just got a message in the chat from Fernando Casal. So this will be in Spanish for Oscar first, then Gardy can translate it. Question, or that question is, can you ask Oscar in Spanish, what is his message to all the Mexican boxing fans that will be supporting him on Saturday night? In Spanish, and then Gardy will translate it. Okay, or Oscar, you can do it in Spanish and then translate it yourself.
Well, primeramente, a toda mi gente, quiero agradecerles a toda mi gente mexicana, a toda mi gente latinoamericana que me ha estado apoyando durante toda mi carrera. Llevo para 10 años como profesional y les agradezco a toda esa gente que ha estado conmigo en las buenas y en las bajas. Ha sido una carrera muy buena, muy importante para mí y le agradezco a toda la gente que verdaderamente ha estado conmigo. Y quiero que sepan una cosa, yo nunca les voy a prometer un knockout, nunca les voy a prometer una pelea del año, pero lo que sí les voy a prometer siempre a mi raza, a mi gente, a toda mi fanaticada, es que siempre voy a dejar todo arriba del ring. Mi corazón, mi esfuerzo, mi sudor, mis ganas, siempre lo voy a dejar arriba del ring. Ahora sí, como decimos los mexicanos, vamos a morir en la raya ese 30 de abril y haré todo lo posible para poner la bandera de México lo más alto posible y traerme esos títulos. So now in English.
Yeah, if Gardy or Oscar, whoever wants to handle this part.
That was a lot, Oscar. Go ahead.
Déjamelo a mí, Gardy. Yeah, I got this. Well, first of all, I want to thank everybody out there. I want to thank all my Mexican fans and all my Latino fans that have been supporting me throughout this career of mine. This is going to be almost 10 years of my career that I've been professional. And I just want to thank everybody who's been supporting me in everything. And when in my lowest and in my highest, the fans that have been with me, I really appreciate this. One thing I want to tell you for this fight, everybody, I will never promise you guys a knockout. I will never promise you guys a fight of the year. But what I will promise everybody is that every time I step in the ring, I'm going to give it my best. I will leave my blood, sweat, tears, heart, cojones, everything inside the ring. Now, like we say in Mexico, vamos a morir en la raya. We're going to give it everything we got. April 30th, we're going to try to put the Mexican flag as high as possible. And we're going to try to bring those belts back home.
That's nobody could say it any better. And as Oscar mentioned, Saturday night, ESPN Deportes, ESPN Plus, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific, not Mandalay Bay, MGM Grand Garden Arena, AXS.com is the place to get tickets. And Sky Sports over in the middle of the night in the UK. So for our British fans, thank you for all those who'll be watching. Thank you for joining in. And thank you, Oscar. Thank you, everyone who joined us today on the call. And we will see everybody in Las Vegas. Thank you.